Some of the headlines you're waking up to this morning. Celtic now within touching distance of the Scottish Premiership title, despite not having a perfect season. That's according to Brendan Rodgers. This after they beat City rivals Rangers 2-1 at Celtic Park. Danilo Orsi scored a hat-trick as Crawley Town demolished MK Dons 5-1 to secure a place in the League Two playoff final. It's Crawley's first ever visit to Wembley. And Chelsea won 3-2 at the City Ground to beat Nottingham Forest to boost their chances of finishing with a place in Europe next season. Cass, as a former Celtic player, almost there.
Yep.
Rangers didn't help themselves necessarily yesterday with an own goal and a red card from the same player.
Yeah, Lundstrom. Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah. It happens in old firm games.
You did say yes. What were you telling me yesterday? Peter Grant said, behave yourself, and he got sent off immediately. Yeah.
It happens. Look, it's fiery. I mean, I did laugh yesterday because I'm always looking for Irish players, who can play. And I think, the lad Matt O'Reilly. He's Danish.
Yeah.
Matt O'Reilly.
Sounds he should be.
Mr.
Sounds like he should
O'Reilly. Well, it sounds more Irish than Cascarino. Look. Celtic,
he's a good player and he's had a good season, hasn't he?
Yeah. I'm always looking. I was joking, but I always think, Riley scored again. What can't he play for Ireland? What I would say is that when Brendan Rodgers went back there, he went back to a job where obviously it all sort of gone a bit wrong for him at Leicester. The feeling from the fan base were not quite so happy, and there was a little bit of resentment to him going back to Celtic as well.
Oh, absolutely, because he'd walked out when they were on the verge of the treble. And there was a reasonable proportion of the Celtic fans who were like, don't come back here because you want a job now.
Yeah, and which has happened.
Don't pick and choose.
But they've managed to get the better of Rangers again, and it's been Clement's done I think really well considering Rangers fell a long way off Celtic last year. They've been close nearly all year
and it's the cup final to come.
Cup final to come, so they've got lots of good things from this season, Rangers. At least it's competitive because it hasn't felt very competitive. I remember being there at the club and Rangers were dominating. And we were trying to be competitive with Rangers, just couldn't get near them at that particular time. I think they won like 9 out of 10 titles. Yeah. And it's been the reverse for Celtic. But a big day for the fans. I mean, it's always an unbelievable atmosphere at Parkhead. Always.
Well, heard Jim saying earlier in the week, Jim White, that the away fans should be back, I think he said, next season. You've got to have that,
you have.
So you said yesterday you scored at Ibrox.
Yeah.
And there were probably, 3,000-4,000 Celtic fans
with
in
the whole
Ibrox,
stand at one end.
You have the whole stand. There you go.
Yeah,
I mean, you need that. That's you've got to have away fans to create the atmosphere.
Absolutely.
The great thing about the FA Cup this season is you get more away fans in FA Cup than you do in Premier League.
Yeah.
The allocation's bigger, so that's really important. We will tip our hats to Crawley Town. Great to have your first ever trip to Wembley booked in. That's really important for a club, isn't it? They've absolutely hammered MK Dons out of sight.
Yeah, surprisingly.
Yes, I mean, really is. So fantastic for a club like that to go to Wembley for the first time.
Yeah, and look, Crawley are not the biggest supporting club, are they? No. But they've had their ups and their downs over the years, and fair play to them. They've dominated MK Dons over the two legs.
And what about Chelsea yesterday as well? I mean, Reece James coming back to form and immediately involved in 2 of the goals, particularly the winner for Jackson.
Yes, I mean, just on Reece James, I was told a few months ago he had really life-changing operation as on his career.
Yeah.
Because he'd had so many hamstring injuries. They eventually went for a long-term solution for his hamstring. Hopefully for Reece, it works because for his goal, I mean, that's Reece James at his best.
Yeah, absolutely.
When he's in an attack forward position and he can pick the ball out, and he's got a wonderful strike on him. But the pass for Jackson.
Brilliant.
He's just past the pass is actually better than the goal.
Yeah, I mean, the goal's the easy bit, isn't it?
Yeah, the easy bit, just getting on your head on the end of it. But Reece James is very important to Chelsea. And look, they got Gusto, haven't they, as well, who's a really good right-sider.
He's done really well.
He's done really
season.
well when he's been called upon. So, but Reece James is their number one, in my opinion. And a fit Reece James, especially, I think he's a much better defender now. When I first saw Reece, I used to think he was more like a winger playing as a fullback. But I think he's learnt over the last few years that he's a lot more reliable defensively as well.
If he were fit, he'd be going to the Euros. No question.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
No question. But, I mean, he's not going to go to the Euros, obviously, because he's only just come back to fitness. But as you say, he's had so many injury problems, so many hamstring injury problems. Great to see him back playing again. Let's hear from Mauricio Pochettino. By the way, Chelsea, only the top 3 have taken more points since Christmas. only Arsenal, City and Liverpool, than Chelsea, despite the fact they've had a couple of hammerings since Christmas at Liverpool and at Arsenal. So, Mauricio Pochettino still believing Chelsea can achieve European football next season.
Of course, that is the consequence in case to win the next 2 games, that we can be in a position that to play in competition, an European competition, and that will be fantastic for the club.
By the way, I know we've said it week after week. Cole Palmer's pass from Mudrik's goal.
Yeah.
Fantastic. It's the way to pass every time he gets right, doesn't he?
Well, you do wonder, Mark, don't you? You know, when you're a young lad and you're at a club and you train and you do a lot of training week in, week out, and you have Kevin De Bruyne, Gundogan and others that they've had quality midfielders, how much he's learned from the weighted pass. Because if you didn't show his head and just saw the pass, you'd say, that's a De Bruyne pass.
Yeah.
You know, so you do learn. You know, goalkeepers learn from other goalkeepers they train with as young lads, and you learn from
Foden's learned from De Bruyne, hasn't he?
Absolutely.
Clearly. That's why Pep wouldn't send him on loan.
Even when I started at Gillingham, I learnt from the players that I played with at Gillingham at that time, people like Mark Weatherly, Derek Howes, and others, that roles of a striker and you're learning, you're on a journey yourself, and you see the things they do that makes them a proper footballer. I mean, he must have learnt a hell of a lot, Cole Palmer, because there's so many similarities in the way he plays that's very De Bruyne-like.
Which is still why, I mean, I saw him play the first game of the season for City in the Community Shield, and there's still a large part of me that thinks, would he not be playing quite a lot for City this season?
Well, and Pep's always argued, and I understand why, because I think a little bit of this. If a player doesn't want to bide his time and wants to go and play football immediately, then you might have to let him go. You know, and I don't have a problem with that.
Weekend Sports Breakfast with Natalie Sawyer and Tony Cascarino. Sunday mornings from 6 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.